Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Furr, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
So, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Welcome, everyone. We're here today to help you build a cloud computing career. Perhaps you desire to become a cloud architect or a solutions architect or an enterprise architect or a network architect or a cloud engineer. If so, we're here to help you by answering any questions you may have about building an elite cloud computing career. My name is Mike Gibbs, and I've been in this tech industry a little longer than I'm actually willing to admit. Let's just say I've been an IT architect now for over 25 years, and I've spent more than 2 decades helping people just like you get their first tech job, get promoted, negotiate a $100,000 raise, or any of the things that they've desired to do to boost their technology career. And that's why we're here to help you. Now, every day people come to us and they've been spending years and they haven't reached to their goals, and we know exactly what they need and how to get you there. So that's why we're here. So ask questions. People call me, send me about 800 to 1,000 messages per day on LinkedIn and WhatsApp and email, and they want to speak to me. And that's why I'm here completely free, at least once a week, answering any questions you are. So bring us your questions so we can help you build your elite cloud computing career. Here's the thing. If you know the shortest distance between 2 points, you can get to your goals fast. And if you don't, it could take you forever. I was a principal architect in less than 2 years. And after that, everything else was just rise, 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 because I knew what the leadership wanted because I asked them. So ask us your questions. Before we begin, we've got a few free downloads for you that I think can really help you in your cloud computing career. The first one is a completely free ebook that we have for you on how to become a cloud architect and get your first cloud architect job. My team will pop that in the chat box of YouTube, LinkedIn, or whatever medias that we're sharing right now. There's what a cloud architect is, and the skills for the cloud architect job are completely different than what most people think. Most people want to be architects. They learn engineering. They go on an architect interview, and they get told, come back when you have more experience, which doesn't mean they needed experience. It means they weren't able to win the interview and do the job. And I want to make sure that you get there and get hard and have a life that you will absolutely love. I have another free guide for you on why tech skills are not enough. Really important information in there about how to build the best career. And I'm going to tell you right now, tech skills are not enough to build an elite technology career. They weren't enough to build an elite technology career 15 years ago, and they sure aren't now. And the last thing to tell you about before we begin answering your questions is this. Tomorrow, we will have our once a week How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, completely free, great time. We'll present for about 30 minutes, and we will be live on Zoom answering any questions you have so you know how to get your first cloud architect job and can build an incredible, high-paying cloud architect career. So these are some free things that we have for you. So ask us your questions so we can assist you in your career. Been on this teaching thing for absolutely forever. Lonzo, you want to say something while we wait for some people?
Absolutely, Mike. Yeah, it's always a pleasure speaking with everyone, having everyone engage with us to try and understand what it takes to become a cloud architect. And the first thing people think about is just tech, but there's far more dimension to that. And that's that human component, that human interaction that spans across the business understanding of what's going on, how to provide solutions, and create commentary and discussions with the people responsible for these endeavors. So we're here to answer your questions, be able to provide that insight for you, and the closest trajectory and quickest to get you into that position of becoming a cloud architect.
And that's exactly what we desire for everyone, that you get your best cloud architect job as fast as possible. While we wait, we had Jeremy that looked, Jeremy enjoyed being part of last night's challenge. Gregory, I'm so thrilled that you did. I had fun there as well. I always love doing those. Last night was a pretty easy sample of what we're showing the absolute community. But, it's all fun. Anytime I get to connect with the community, it's fun. Anytime I get to teach, it's fun. But, I've been teaching forever. You're really a student. Yeah, I know you just joined us, Gregory. And as a network engineer, last night may have made you nervous. Well, it would make sense to me because engineering and architecture, honestly, couldn't be farther from from each other. It's like a cat versus a dog. I mean, yes, they both have 4 legs. Yes, they're both furry. Yes, they both make great pets. But, my cat, she chases lizards all day and birds because that's what she does. And a dog brings you your shoes and your newspaper. But, they're both great animals and both lots of fun.
And you know something, Gregory, we definitely encourage anyone. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be berated. You're not going to be laughed at or anything else. We encourage growth. So if the answer was wrong or there could be another way to optimize a solution, we're here to encourage your discovery, your inquisitiveness, your curiosity, and passion to become cloud architects. So when we have these type of things, always be ready to raise your hand because that's what our community is all about, is encouraging, growing, and uplifting everyone who wants to become a cloud architect.
Absolutely. So ask us your questions and we'll help you. Tyra, okay.
From Augustine. Hello, Mike and Alonzo. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Do you have a program for a financial plan financial plan to help people who can't afford your fee, where they can commit to pay over a period of time?
Okay, so Augustine, I'm going to tell you what we did. If we looked at what we should price our course, it would be in the $35,000 to $50,000 range when you add all the business, legal, and expertise that we put in here. And what we did is we said, what's the lowest price we could possibly charge, and basically run our programs at our cost to help the people in the world, and that's where we've got our tuition. So we can't make it any cheaper than we do, but we do have a 6-month payment plan for any of our programs. And to put it into context, our payment plans on our program on average is 3 days pay for the average graduate that we serve. So, I mean, I remember when I had my first $200,000 job before I went to architecture, and, I took on close to $500,000 of debt to get there. So to keep that in mind, for our program, which is $2,500, that's 3 days pay for the average architect, less than the $300,000 to $500,000 someone would need to do if they went to graduate school, where they would take loans to go there, just like we all did, where they'd have to get an MBA or a law degree or a medical degree. So it's about the best we can charge what we do have, but we do have a 6-month payment plan for people that desire to do so directly on our site. And the reality is, we also have, PayPal and Confirm and Klarna for people that need to stretch it out over 2 years as well. So we definitely have something that's made for that, but, kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
From Gregory, how long until the cloud architect role will I start feeling confident in the role itself?
Gregory, well, it's all going to depend on you. And here's what I mean by this. If you're really internally focused and you want to be the best architect in the world, every day you're going to wake up and say, what else can I learn? I don't know it. So Gregory, I know you come from a networking background. I'm going to give you what I learned. When I took the CCNA exam, it was a simple exam. I spent 4 days preparing for it. By the end of it, I thought I knew networking. And then I became a Cisco certified network professional and a Cisco certified design professional. And I started to say, there's a lot of networking that I don't know. And then, Gregory, I became a CCIE, my number is 7417, and I went, uh-oh, I don't know anything about networking. Now is my chance to learn. So it takes at least 10,000 hours in one small thing to become an expert, Gregory. 10,000 hours. Now, for me, it was 10,000 hours of BGP. That's how and nothing other than BGP. That's how I became a BGP expert. So at 10,000 hours of just doing one thing, that's when you're going to start feeling really comfortable. Now, there are people that don't know what they know, don't what they don't know, and they're always comfortable, but I don't think that's you, Gregory, because I've met you. So what I'll say is you're going to feel ready to get the job when you're in our courses and you're finally bored. The day you say, Mike, are we going to design something bigger than this, this, and this? And I'm going to say these architectures you just designed are bigger than 90% of the population ever will work with. Then when you get bored with that, you are ready. But I'd say it took me about 5 years of really working until I truly, truly felt comfortable. Now, I was a principal architect in less than 2 years, but I still knew all the things that I didn't know. But 5 years into it, I started feeling really, really good. But, that's me. And if I don't know something, I get uncomfortable. So I will tell you, the people that I worked with that knew less than me were comfortable inside of 6 months. But for me, it took 5 years.
From ND Yasser. Hi, Mike. I saw your video about cloud architecture, day-to-day job responsibilities, and you mentioned it's 50% meeting with clients, 30% reading and preparing docs, PowerPoints, etc., and 20% engaging with clients.
That's about right.
This makes sense for a cloud architect to design something for a new organization, but what job responsibilities would one get in a well-established organization, as they won't be designing their infrastructure every day? Okay.
Actually, MD Yasser, we're going to help you because you've got a lot of incorrect assumptions there. So 80 to 90% of cloud architects work pre-sales. They work for AWS, they work for Azure, they work for Google, they work for Alibaba, they work for Oracle, or they work for Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, Capgemini, where we design it, present it, sell a solution, and then another team will come in and build it. Now, how about the people that we've graduated, such as Wallace Agana, who had no tech background but now works at JP Morgan Chase, or Jennifer Ema, who's working at JP Morgan Chase as an architect, or Daniel Bose, who love this guy. We got him trained and hired as a cloud architect at JP Morgan Chase. So what are they doing all day? Architecture, and they will still never get to touch the technology, and here's why. Kemi recently got hired by them, and it was another one, but here's why. So business is not stagnant, MD Yasser, and architects are not engineers. I want to make this very clear. Architects are not engineers. Now, MD Yasser, do you ever think there's a time where business is going to be stagnant, where interest rates won't be rising or lowering and a business won't have to adapt to that change, where there's not supply shocks in, say, oil or fuel, where there's not geopolitical tensions related to a war, where the economy is always humming along so well that people have lots of money to go buy stuff and it never goes into a recession? Well, that doesn't happen. The market forces are dynamic. If you truly understand what we do as architects, and I'll let you know, you'll understand why architects are constantly designing new architectures day in and day out, no matter what. And they're constantly going to be doing the same meetings. So let's say you work at a bank, right? You work at a big bank, life's good. And right now, you're re-architecting a trading system for the traders to do something. And now you're designing a trading system, and by getting all the information to redesign this trading system takes you 9 months and 50 architects and $100 million. Guess what? As soon as you're done the trading system, there's a voice system that needs to be upgraded. Or, wow, the government now allotted crypto, and now you're going to need a new system for trading cryptos inside of that bank. Or, guess what? There's a new AI tool, and now we can run an algorithm to determine when we can buy and sell a stock. And when all that's done, there's a new law, and the new law is forcing electric cars, and now there's some opportunities in the ESG markets. And now we're going to design something new with technology for that new market. So you are always, always, always going to be designing new technologies, business not static. And here's the process. First thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to the company about their vision for the business. We're not techies. We're not like starting at the tech and working backwards. What's the goal for the business, Mr. CEO or Mrs. CEO? Where do you see the business next year, 6 months from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because the architect needs to be thinking about the tech that's going to support that. And then the architect is mapping out their business architecture. How does the organization make its money? What's the customer journey like? What's success like? What's support like? Mapping this out, right? And then they're figuring out with the executives, how do you want that business to be in the future? Now, we examine the data architecture, the technology architecture. What's it look like now? And then we need to think, how do we support that new business vision, that new business architecture, or the manner that the business works with technology? And we work backwards and we find the right tech. Now, after this, we got to create a statement of work and build implementation plans for the people that are going to go build the thing. Then once we're done that, we got to help create and find a governance structure and manage a ton of stakeholders. And all that's great. It gets deployed and you think we're bored. We're not bored, because now we're right back up there in the boardroom. We're right up there with the executives and we're finding out what their new business goal is, because something changed in that last 6 months and now you're doing something else. So you will always be going to meetings because you're going to have to find information from the executives. You're going to be managing stakeholders throughout the organization. There's going to be always something that's not working, and you're going to be doing a new architecture, and you're going to be on the phone with Cisco and Juniper and Palo Alto and Fortinet and Azure and Microsoft and Snowflake and 1,000,001 other people. You're going to be doing that vendor negotiation and vendor management. And as soon as that project's done, you may get lucky and have 2 weeks to go to Dubai, really enjoy yourself on the beach, especially at the Emirates. I like the Emirates Towers, or I'd suggest Jumeirah Beach Hotel or the Burj Al Arab. Enjoy some good drinks, some good dinner, and then you're going to be back on a new project a couple of weeks later. So you will always be designing. We're not going to be touching the technology as architects.
From Ngwa, hello, beautiful teachers. Thank you. Do you have resume workshops? Because I don't know if my resume is good enough to catch recruiter attentions.
Well, we have 2 ways where students actually are taught how to properly build a resume. There's resume training in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. There's also resume training in our tech interview programs. And there is heavy duty resume training in there. But here's the thing. If you want to know if your resume is good, if you pop out your resume and you're not getting interviews, it's no good. It's no good. And in fact, I have to redo the resumes that are made by resume writers every single day because they don't understand the job. So Naga Melvin, I don't know what you actually want to do, because what you want to do has determining what your resume is. It's based upon what you know, what you can prove, what you've done, and the characteristics of the job you want, how you translate your life experience into the appropriate resume experience. And, there needs to be no brand confusion. For example, I see a lot of people that have cloud architect / cloud engineer on their title on LinkedIn. The second I see that, I know not to interview the person. And you might ask me why, and here's the reason. The cloud architect's job and the cloud engineer's jobs are about as different as an airplane pilot and a lawyer. And if the person puts that they're both, I know they don't know what either is, and I can't hire someone. They don't even know what the job is. They don't even know the difference between them, so I can't hire them. So the key is it should promote you. It should show the things that you do. It should capture attention, and it should show why you are the solution to the challenges that organizations typically have. But we have trained, and all of our programs provide this training.
Okay. From Gregory, I ultimately would love to be in the mid 200,000 salary range. Can you please provide a breakdown of how to achieve this short-term goal?
Well, Gregory, you just told me you're a network engineer. The shortest and easiest way for you to earn $200,000 plus as a network engineer is to make sure you're really good at the routing protocols that you're talking about as a network engineer, that you've got good presentation skills, good sales skills, good executive presence, and good emotional intelligence. And any of us network engineers were earning mid $200,000 20 plus years ago that had those skills. So if it's just there and you're already in networking, Gregory, I'd say, learn all those architecture skills that we're teaching you, learn those business acumen skills, learn those leadership skills, and you'll easily earn mid 200s.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at salary.com, and this is consistent with what we see, the average salary of someone with strong business acumen skills is $558,000 a year. So your goal is just money. Don't waste your time in tech at all. Focus completely on the business. That's it. But if you're in networking and you can combine networking and business, now you're a network architect and you've got a $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 job. No big deal to get one as a good network architect. Same thing for the cloud architect. Focus on the business. The business, the business, the business, the business, and more business. And why do I say this? And this is what keeps some people low-income earners and high-income earners. Gregory, I don't care if you've got a certification in anything. It's meaningless to me. And the problem is I'm the hiring manager. And when someone buys and does 10 certifications and the hiring manager doesn't care, they're not raising their value. Now, if I'm the hiring manager and I want you to sell, and you can sell and you get commission sales, you're earning more. But the reason we focus on business acumen is I'll give you a sample of jobs that require moderate to high levels of business acumen. So I'll start with a couple jobs. They'll be tech related, they won't be. So someone that would work at Accenture, say as a managing director, the average pay is say $384. It's a business acumen job. IBM is not a high paying organization because they're more of a slow, stodgy, wonderful, great place to work for. Their average pay for a senior director is about $400,000 a year. Average principal architect salary at AWS is $372. Note, there's a range of $291 to $491, and that has everything to do with your interview skills and your sales skills. Senior director at Cisco, they require a ton of business acumen. That's one of the places where I learned all my business acumen. Senior director at Cisco, $527 on average with a pay range of $417 to $698. Focus on your business acumen, Gregory. Principal architect at Google, average pay of $508. Again, this is coming straight off of Glassdoor.com with a pay range of $394 to $677. Wait, whoa, $300,000 plus of a difference between the top and the bottom. Learn to sell. Here we've got Amazon, a sales rep, global account manager, average pay of $330. And I'll end with Palo Alto, a senior director, to show that these are all in line with what I'm telling you. $540 is the average salary for a senior director. So where I'm coming from is the following. That's how you increase your earnings. You increase your earnings by increasing your business acumen, your leadership skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence. That's how you do it. That's how you stand out. So when you're in a meeting and there's a techie in the meeting that's all excited by the newest thing, like a new microservices thing, but they're forgetting how the business operates, and you're looking at how do I increase that organization's revenue by 3 to 5%. And then after you're figuring out what the actual problem is, then you're figuring out what technologies need to be changed or not changed. Then you're a $500,000 person. So start that now. As soon as you get your presentation skills a little better, you'll be in mid 200s, and then get great, increase those business skills, and then you'll earn anything you want.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better, Mike. Yeah, there's tons of people, like you said, they could be really giddy about some tech, but is the tech aligning with the business goals? Is it compliant with the overall architecture? Is it compatible? Is it efficient? Does it make, is it going to increase more costs? And if so, where? Is it a security risk? These are the things that you ask when it comes to the technology, not because it's a bright new shiny toy. I don't want to sound facetious, but that's the difference between when someone is more interested in the technology than how it's going to affect the overall business goals, infrastructure, and so forth.
Yeah. Tech's just a tool.
Alonzo, how did you know you found the right company to start your career as a cloud architect? So once I left here, I was looking for something that was innovative, something that could make a difference, something that had a great culture. So I looked for a lot of the things, but overall, I wanted to find something that I could use based off of the training that I learned at Go Cloud Careers. Now, everything that we learn, it's not going to always be cookie cutter. There's going to be different requirements and so forth. However, those are a lot of the things that I look for is something where I was able to make a difference. The culture was great. Of course, the salary comes into play, but you have to be happy where you are regardless, because I know plenty of people who are making a tremendous amount of money, but they're miserable in their job. So the money can't be the defining factor, but a lot of the things about that organization, about what they're doing with their companies, are they investing in my future? Do I have an opportunity to get some certifications that focus on moving the business forward? Is there training, lunch and learns, and people that I have access to become a better person? What is the team looking like? Are they using situational leadership so that I can have a seat at the table to help innovate? Or is it going to be just a autocratic situation where whatever they do, it's whatever says goes, and I'm never able to participate? So a lot of those things come into play when you're choosing a organization that you want to work with, so that you can be happy in your job, be contributory, and be able to grow and move that company forward with your skill set. Mr. Gibbs, please walk me through the day-to-day activities of being a cloud architect.
Oh, Gregory, what a question. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen the My Big Fat Greek Wedding movie. And you've got this couple that meets a Greek family, and I come from a pretty big Greek family, and they can't understand exactly what's going on in all the Greek family. Well, when I tell people what I do as a cloud architect, especially my Greek family, they actually laughed at me because they couldn't believe me. In fact, most architects, when they tell their family members what they actually do, their family members actually think it's a joke. So, Gregory, here's what a week would typically look like. A week might look like you jumping on a plane and going to the corporate headquarters to do an executive briefing, where they fly in the chief information officer, the chief technology officer, a couple of VPs of technology, and you present to them and talk about their business and how you can help. And when you're done that executive briefing, say it's a 9 to 5 thing and you speak for 1 hour, but you're part of there. At the end of the day, you're taking that client for drinks. Then you're taking that client for really good food. And then you're drinking some really good scotch or an after dinner drink with your client, and that's the end of your day. Now, the next morning, you may wake up, you may in conference calls for the next 6 hours. And when you're done those next 6 hours of conference calls, you write up some documentations. The next day, you're going to be in a lot of meetings. You're probably going to go to a sales call. When you get done the sales call, you're going to be going back to your company, and you're going to be finding people to help you design the architecture. You're also going to be writing white papers, and that could be the next day. The day after that, you could be in meetings all day long. And the day after that, you're writing documents all day to catch up on all the meetings that you had. And then the next day, you're buying lunches and dinners and drinks. Now, that weekend, you may end up going to the Super Bowl if something like that exists and sitting in box seats with your client, or you're playing golf with your client. And then the next day, you go give a presentation, and the next week, write up some documents, and then you're entertaining clients all day. You're at the client site, you're asking questions. The day after that, you're in meetings trying to manage stakeholders at all these companies. The day after that, you're working on an architecture, and now you're on the phone all day with Cisco and Fortinet and Palo Alto and Checkpoint to hear these things. And that's what it's about. It's a meeting, 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 meeting. It's a job where we advise others. And they're all going to be paid for by the company. You're going to eat the best steak, scotch, lobster, wine, and champagne you could possibly ever imagine, and somebody else is going to cover it, and that's how business is done. It's not a hard, challenging job, as long as you like people.
Yeah, you definitely have to like people. I love collaboration. Like when I have an opportunity to speak with Mike or Chris, and we're in the lab talking about things and thinking about solutions, or if you're talking with your teammates about how this can be innovative and how you can leverage different specifics on or looking at KPIs, key performance indicators. How are your solutions meeting those goals? How are you able to solution with that? I find that very exciting to be able to come up with ideas and goals and solutions that meet the needs of people, because one of the things that make you a valuable cloud architect is thinking about things they haven't thought about, coming up with possible scenarios and options that they haven't considered. That requires a lot of strategy, working in tandem with a lot of cloud architects specializing in different things, or the engineers themselves that may have found something that could make things more efficient. It's all about collaboration and working with these people, and it's a community. And I haven't seen anything outside of working there unless it was at Go Cloud Careers, where the Slack community, everyone comes together to innovate, help each other grow, learn, become stronger in different facets of the field. If they want to be a cloud security architect, there's solutions for that. If there's cloud networking sub community within the overall enterprise of Go Cloud Careers, there's a team, there's a community for that. So there's never an unanswered question. There's never an unanswered consideration about what, how, and when you can be a cloud architect with so many community supporters. And I could call that, instead of us having clients, we can call themselves Go Cloud Career supporters, because they support each other, they support the organization. I've never seen anything like it, and I think anyone who's on the fence about being a cloud architect, they'll understand that as well once they join us. From Vernon, what if someone has a ton of temp jobs due to a lack of full-time options over a specific time span?
So Vernon, you're asking on a resume. So I think it's going to depend. And it's going to depend where you're at. If you're in my village in Greece, which has 5,000 people in a depressed economy, and you've got a job for 6 months, and then another job for 6 months, and another job for 6 months, but there's 20% unemployment in the village where I live, then yeah, that's okay. Now, if you're in the United States, or if you're in England, for example, or you're in Canada, it's a bit of a problem because the economy is good. So here's the way contract temp jobs typically work. I hire someone on a contract basis, and if I like them because they do a good job, I offer them a full-time job. In fact, every employee at Go Cloud Careers either was an intern or something where we got to test them, see what they liked, and then we hired them. Except for Alonzo. He was a student in the program. He got a full-time job as a cloud architect, and I begged him to come back. But outside of that, everybody else was some form of a temp person, and then we loved them, and then we hired them. So if I see a lot of temp jobs, I get nervous. I get nervous. What is it about the person that they can't stick around? It makes me very scared. Now, if I speak to the person, and when I speak to them, I get a clear, rational answer of why, I'm okay. I really am. Because a lot of things can affect people's lives. Somebody could be going through a divorce, for example, or a death of a child. And no matter what they do, it's not going to be good. So sure, they get a 3-month contract, they fulfill their obligation, and nobody offers them the job because they're not happy. But if somebody's got a ton of short-term jobs, it makes me nervous as a hiring manager. And it doesn't mean I won't hire the person, but that person better have some good resume work. They better hire a resume coach. They probably need to hire an executive coach. They need to be very well trained, and they need to be the best of the best when they interview them. And that's the thing. I've seen people like Daniel Bosu get hired by big banks as a cloud architect after our training, and he didn't even go to high school. I know people with felony convictions that spent nearly a decade in prison that got a great cloud architect job after the right training. And I know people like me who one day were in healthcare and a couple months later were a lead architect somewhere. I know that too. And it really doesn't matter your starting point or your issue, as long as you're great on that interview. And that's the key, it's great on that interview. So if you've got an ugly looking resume because you had 7 temp jobs, be perfectly prepared for that interview. Get yourself some interview training, master your knowledge, have somebody that's knowledgeable that can truly help you polish your resume and highlight what you've done versus what you haven't done. And then poof, it's not going to be an issue for you. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. The key is to highlight your strengths and mitigate your weaknesses.
From Douglas. Hey, Douglas. Hello, everyone. I hope you are enjoying the conversation. Mike and the Go Cloud program are great.
Thanks, Douglas. We've loved working with you.
Same. From MD Yasser. What's the next path one should look for after becoming a successful architect?
And before I answer this, if you've got some questions, please ask them. We'd love to help you in your career. But, here's the thing. What makes you think you should do something after being an architect? I mean, I've been an architect now for 25 years. I mean, a couple of years ago, I became a CEO, which is still just another kind of architect, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I love being an architect. I know plenty of architects with 800, 900, $1,000 and $1 million jobs as architects, and they absolutely love it. So if you love being an architect, why would you ever leave being an architect? And that's the key. So I want you to pick a job that you love so much that it's practically like your vacation. So you get paid to do what you love. And for me, that's architecture. And I've trained a lot of architects, and I'll love to hear from Alonzo. I've had a lot of architects that I've trained that went on to become chief information officers or chief technology officers. Some of them moved into sales. Some of them moved into sales leadership. I've seen some people that were engineers that we've trained who became architects that now are earning 3 times the amount of money that they were as engineers, but they're miserable because they want to code and configure, and architects aren't able to do that. And they just want to be a hands-on techie. And I know $800,000 architects that in the retirement said, I want to go back to being an engineer again. And they took on some basic engineering job where they didn't have to meet with clients all day and they got paid very little, but they were happy. And that's what they felt like doing in the retirement. So what do you want to do? But all executive positions are architect positions. The CEO sets the strategy for the organization. They pick the leadership team that's going to help set the strategy for organization and run the company. It's called the business architecture. The chief operating officer figures out how the company is going to run, and they create an architecture for that called the business architecture. So all big jobs are architect jobs. Guess what? You know what a physician is? It's an architect. You know why? Someone goes to the doctor and they say, I've got a problem. This is bothering me. And the physician builds a plan called an architecture to improve that patient's health. What's a lawyer do? You get a speeding ticket, for example, you were driving too fast on the road. You call the lawyer and you say, I don't want these points on my license. The lawyer says, no big deal. Tell me what happened in the event. They examine the evidence, they create a plan, and then they go do what they do, and then you pay a fine for unsafe driving, but you don't have any tickets on your resume. So it's done. It's the same thing. So what do you want to do? What makes you happy? That's the next thing after being an architect. I don't believe in starting at the bottom and working your way to the top. I believe in training for the job that you want. People go to medical school and become doctors. It's their first job. They don't start out as a nursing assistant, become a nurse, and then become a doctor. They become doctors. And people become physicians and stay physicians their whole life because they love it. Sure, some become the CEO of a hospital. Some just love it. So MD asked her, what do you want? Because you could build an entire lifetime career as an architect. What do you think, Alonzo?
You know what? I think you're right on track, Mike. And one of the things that I was thinking and verbalized earlier was that, what does your career path look like, MD Yasser? Once you become a cloud architect, then moving on to an enterprise architect, is that what you're looking for? A principal architect, chief information, chief technical, or even maybe a global technology leadership space for an organization? What does that look like for you? Not sure where you're located. Is there a certain career path you're looking for, or because outside of being a cloud architect, it's fun, man. I mean, it's there's so much fun to be had there. There's so many solutions that you can look at. I'm like, case in point, when ChatGPT took off in November, look at what has happened in the last 11 and a half months with just AI alone. So you think about how that looks like on the technological topography. What is needed to kind of contain this dragon of technology in the form of generative AI, deep learning, machine learning? How are we going to harness this power? What is it going to be best served for? And then we're just talking about AI alone, let alone networking. How is that going to look like when we communicate from the data center to the cloud and back and forth? What type of redundancies are needed? How are we going to solve for ransomware and the associated attacks therewith? It's a huge space. So you can basically think about where you want to be across this wide world of technology and plot your trajectory from there. But overall, the world is your oyster. So what do you want to do?
Exactly.
From Gregory, is it possible to be a remote cloud architect?
Well, Gregory, we have to define it. So I've been a remote architect now since 2001, meaning I didn't go to the office. But, and here's the big but, architecture is a face-to-face business. When I closed a $1.1 billion deal, and that was the biggest deal I've closed, I spent a lot of time at the customer site. Sure, I was living in my house in Palm Beach, and I wasn't going to the Cisco office in Fort Lauderdale or New York. I worked from home in Palm Beach. But you better believe that I was at that Cisco office in San Jose, talking to people. I was with the client wherever they may have been, and I was constantly traveling. So you can work completely remote, but you'll just travel to see your client. Now, if you live in a big city, say San Jose or San Francisco, there's a chance you don't have to travel at all because many of your clients are already going to be there. But, this is not a job where you're going to go into the office. This is not a job where you even want to go to the office. What's the point of going into the office? Your job is to design, present, and sell. And every minute that you're in the office, you're not selling product or solutions to your client, which is going to drive your salary down. Gregory, I think it was kind of funny when I was at Cisco. We're going back to 2003. I left my architect job and for 6 months became a sales engineer. And there were 3 sales engineers on the team. Now, they all lived in New Jersey, and they all spent 2 hours commuting to the office in New York every single day. It was a miserable commute. I had that job for 6 months, and I went to the office 3 times. They went there 5 times a week. Now, the 2 engineers would go to my manager, and they'd complain, Mike doesn't come to the office. And Gregory, here's what my manager said. When you can sell a third of what Mike can, I'll actually take you seriously. My manager would say, Mike and company sold $40 million this year. You sold $5 million and you sold $7 million. So together you're a third Mike. So I don't care that Mike goes there. Maybe you should spend your time with your clients. I don't need to see you in the office, but I'd like to see some more sales. So, kind of keep that in your mind. There's no advantage as an architect to go to the office, except on days where you're going to have to meet with a lot of people, get them all in the room, and you're going to design something on a whiteboard together, and then you're going to go back. But so yes, you're most likely going to be remote.
What's the entry level from Gregory again? What's the entry level salary for a cloud architect?
Gregory, it depends. I will tell you that the average graduate that I hear somewhere earns between 150 and 200 for their first pay job of our student base. I've seen a couple take less. For example, I had a student that very recently that was in the program for about 3 months. And inside of that 3 months, somebody gave him an offer for a $70,000 training position that once he finished the training position was going to pay him 140 plus bonus. And he decided to quit the program and get paid to do their 6-month training program at $70,000 a year. So that was the lowest salary I think I've ever seen. But the person's guaranteed a $140,000 job in 6 months. And instead of doing my training, he took a paid training program. But kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Now, I also had somebody that got a $404,000 job about 6 weeks ago. So that's the range. But I'd say 150 to 200 is what we're seeing for people on their first jobs. Alonzo, that what you're hearing from the graduates of our program?
Yeah, I am. I definitely am. We've had so many people reach amazing heights. There was one gentleman in particular where they had their initial salary, which was impressive, rescinded. And unfortunately, it did cause a lot of grief and problems, as it would for anyone. But it was definitely a blessing in disguise because they ended up getting a better position with more money. So it's all about how you present yourself.
Yes.
And Mike stresses, and we talk about this a lot, when you get that offer for your position, they're not rating you on your skill set so much as they're rating you on how well you did in that interview, because they don't really care so much about what you did for another company. How are you going to do whatever it is that you said you're going to do for their company today, right here and now? So how are you going to solve for that? How are you going to showcase that? That's in the interview. And the interview starts way before you actually get in the door or you click the enter meeting button on your video call. It starts with reconning what the company is, who you're interviewing with, what the job requirements are, how are you meeting that and solving for this role, what do you think you're going to be able to offer them, and so forth. So these are the things that we teach here, which help to propel you past any preconceived entry-level salary as a cloud architect.
Yeah.
From Prince, I'm sorry I'm coming in late. No worries. Good day, everyone. Good day, Mike. I'm looking to become an architect. My question is, what is the best place I should document my cloud projects to showcase them?
Now, Prince, let me answer the first question at a time. So, Prince, here's the thing. I don't know why, but about a year ago, I started getting resumes that have cloud projects listed on them. And I've spoken to a bunch of hiring managers, and they see them. And every time we see a resume that says cloud projects, we throw them in the trash, move on, and never even interview that person. I don't want to see cloud projects on a resume. A resume is an advertisement that says, why should I interview you? So, no. Now, Prince, let's say you're working with a company like a school. Under that school, you can talk about the systems you did. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, setting up an S3 website is not a cloud project for an architect. I'm also going to tell you that coding and writing a Python script is not an architect project. I'm also going to tell you by turning on a bunch of EC2 instances and setting up a table in DynamoDB is not a cloud architect project. And when I see that on an architect resume, I get even more nervous. A cloud architect resume is design 3-tier web clients, 3-tier websites for clients that increase the revenue by 13%. Created a remote access environment on the Google Cloud to allow for 200,000 remote employees to securely connect to the enterprise. A cloud architect project is designed a multi-cloud solution for a bank that increased their trading performance. A cloud architecture project is repatriated, went from the AWS cloud and created a Nutanix cloud to offer 30% greater performance at a 42% lower cost. That's architecture projects design. But, you know, I'm seeing Git projects on resumes. If I see that on an architect resume, I throw it away. I want people that can design. Now, I have no problem if you put a career research and development or a career education thing, and then you put down all the things that you did and some things that you learned, but I don't care about your cloud projects. I care, can you do the job? So, I'm going to ask you a question like this. I'm going to ask you, how would you design a secure demilitarized zone for remote access for 200,000 people? I'm going to hire you or not hiring you by how well you can answer that question. I don't care what's on your resume. It only needs to be good enough to get you in for an interview. But all these cloud projects I see, what I really think is going on, Prince, is as follows. Several years ago, we told everyone that you will not get hired by doing a certification. And we've retrained everyone else's students. You give me a certification program, they've come to us and we've had to retrain them. And after we showed why people won't get hired doing that, now their new thing is, cloud projects will give you hands-on experience. And when I interview people that have done cloud projects, do you know what they know about system design? Nothing. Do you know what they know about sales? Nothing. Do you know what they know about leadership? Nothing. So, Prince, if you want to be an architect, get the right training to be an architect, and you'll be a great architect, and you will love it. But I don't care if you can code or not. It doesn't mean anything to me. At the same time, if I say to Alonzo, posi se semra, I medaxe si fenese polioreo semra, he's going to look at me like I have two heads because I spoke to him in another language. Now, that could have been Python, that could have been JavaScript, or it could have been Greek like I used. The point is, that's not our world. What are we designing? We're designing networking and data center solutions because what is the cloud? Somebody else's network and someone else's data center. So what does your system designs look like? You figure out how to design systems, then you're going to know what to design.
And Prince here again. To get projects to work on, I use ChatGPT to generate hypothetical business scenarios who experience problems like they need to manage traffic spikes, availability, etc.
Prince, you're going in the exact opposite direction that you need to be. So, Prince, you can't generate a scenario in ChatGPT. Now, in business school, they give you actual case studies that actually come from real businesses that have real challenges. So, my problem is not that I have a traffic spike. My problem is that my employee productivity is down. And even though I've got 200,000 employees, they're doing 7% less work than they were last year for a reason we can't figure out. And how do I crank out 7% more productivity? My business problem is I need to get revenue up. And what kind of technologies can we use to revenue? My business problem is the price of fuel oil has gone sky high since the US stopped fracking and drilling on a larger scale. And I'm an airline, and how do I purchase fuel at a lower price? How do I optimize my fuel contracts? These are the kind of problems that an architect needs to solve. Now, what you're describing is an engineering problem. The business determines what the availability is. If I've got a business that loses $7 million a minute, I'm going to spend a lot of money to keep that for additional redundancy. If my cat Cindy creates a website selling fancy tuna, and she's been talking to me about it every day, believe me, and that tuna website goes down and then we only lose $2 a minute, if we're down for an hour, who cares? Because I'm not going to put another $100,000 into stuff to not lose $120. So it's all based upon the business. So I wouldn't be using ChatGPT to generate hypothetical business scenarios, especially the business scenarios you give me are actually technical scenarios, not business scenarios. I'd work really hard on learning the business piece.
Okay, and then the part 3 of it, and then I design the architecture for the hypothetical business and then document the process all the way from the BPM diagram I designed of the business and then the solution architecture.
Well, how are you documenting it? And the documentation isn't a picture. All these engineering diagrams you see people post where they use all these AWS symbols, that's not an architecture, that's an engineering as-built. An architecture document is a summary of the problem, a summary of how the solution is going to work, What is the customer journey like? What is this? What is this? What is this? The how, the why, and it explains the rationale. It also includes a business case. And the business case we're talking about would be, how does the technology solve the problem? What is the return on investment and things? So I love that you're trying hard, Prince. I really, really do. But I want you to understand the differences. We are not engineering, we are architecture. You can become an engineer on your own, but to become an architect, you really need someone to show you these things. I wish it wasn't true, but in reality, it is kind of true. You need to be taught how to be a doctor. You need to be taught to be a lawyer. You can't learn to fly an airplane on your own. Nobody's going to teach you how to design you can't learn to design billion-dollar technology solutions on your own. It's a mentorship thing. I had mentors and I'm grateful for them. And Prince, it's okay that you've done some things not necessarily what you needed to do. That's okay. That's why we're here, to help you, so you don't keep doing it. Because I don't want to see you do that every single day and struggle. I want to see you find what you want, be laser-like focused, and go after your dreams and get them, Prince. Love the name, by the way.
Yeah. And one thing, Prince, you should have seen me about 4 or 5 years ago when I was trying to navigate through the wilderness of technology. I didn't, and that's the thing. That's why we're here. That's the beacon that we have, is that technology is so expansive. You have to try to figure out what to go, where to go, what to study for, how to study for it, what is the best way to get entry into a specific job market or whatever requires training from someone who's been there, not people who are just talking about it or teaching you something without having the background to justify why they're pointing you in that direction in the first place. Back to Gregory. How many people and or titles are involved in the actual design with a cloud architecture?
Oh boy. It depends on how important the architecture is. It could be as small as one. I personally have never worked on an architecture in the last 20 years that didn't at least have 20 to 50 people involved. And the reason is this: you meet with your client, they're going to have 10 different business problems going on. And it's going to encompass networking, security, identity and access management. And yes, that's different than traditional security. It's going to involve big data people and everything from data architects, data engineers, data scientists. I mean, you're going to have application architects, you're going to have application developers, you're going to have the people that build the stuff, like the DevOps engineers coming as part of it, because you're going to want to get their insight. Hey, you think you can actually build this? Is our stuff crazy? Are you going to be able to do this? So by the time you're done, it's going to be a good 50 people to be able to do anything. So 1 to 50, based on how big and serious it is.
Okay.
I'm okay with it, Chris and Tyrone.
Okay, back to Gregory. I have a little background as not sure what BA means, but could you clarify that? We'll use some of those skill sets like requirements gathering as a cloud architect. Will I use some of those skill sets like requirements gathering as a cloud architect?
I don't know what BA is. Gregory, you're in our program. Normally we put a couple dollars in the swear jar every time somebody uses an acronym, because acronyms cause errors and we don't know what you mean. So I think you mean a bachelor's of arts, but I'm not sure. Oh, he says business analyst. So the business analyst and what we do probably won't have a lot together. Business analysts typically aren't on the strategic side, and they're more about counting numbers after the fact. This is more like a finance professional trying to understand where the organization is going and figuring out how to increase their return on investment with everything they do. So I don't think you'll see that many things that are too similar there. This is more of a business executive as opposed to an analyst kind of thing.
From Banji, Hello, Alonzo. Please, can I use the discount code shared at the design challenge yesterday? I want to register. Tell you what, Banji, what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, you can use the one from last night. He was on the link. That discount code was available to the people that were there yesterday, so I have no issue sharing it.
Okay, awesome. So everyone, this is a great opportunity. If you have ever been interested in joining Go Cloud Careers, we are now putting a 30% off sale for today for anyone who's participating in this particular webinar. All the information is going to be in the chat on YouTube. So please, this is your chance to sign up for a 30% discount to join our programs to become a cloud architect, commanding large opportunities and trajectories of salary increases, working with great people, and being able to shape the future of cloud architecture. So please join us. We're looking forward to it, Banji. From Kelsey, as a current college student looking towards a career in the cloud, what are my options to grow my cloud skills if purchasing the cloud career development program isn't an option?
Well, Kelsey, I don't know what career you actually want. You just said cloud skills. For example, there's a very different set of skills required for an architect than an engineer. There's a different set of skills for a developer. There's a different set of skills for a data person. There's a different set of skills for a security person. And there's at least 200 different jobs that you could do in cloud computing, and most of them all require different skills. So Kelsey, if you could tell me what you'd like to do in the cloud, then we can help you get there. I'm going to tell you right now that if you just get a bunch of cloud certifications, you will know nothing other than the name of the service and how to configure that service, which won't help you have any career. So you need to figure out the career that you want and then learn the skills that you need. But we have to know what career you want. And that's the big key. The AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional is not enough for anybody to get any job anywhere, anytime. And I know you put the practitioner. We generally tell people, well, I'll just leave it at that. But the professional one, and actually, if I was you, I would skip the Certified Solutions Architect. Now, Kelsey, we tell everyone never to do the cloud practitioner for this reason. It's impossible to get a job with it. And there's nothing taught in there that's of any value. And it's 99% or 90% the same as the Certified Solution Architect Associate. So we would tell people, skip the cloud practitioner, go straight to the Solution Architect Associate. It's still super basic. And then go to the professional afterwards. But in your case, since you did the associate, I would go straight to the professionals. Since you did the cloud practitioner, skip the associate. It's basically the same exam. Go straight to the professional and don't waste your time. Use that discount that you got, the voucher from the cloud practitioner, to go straight to the professional. It's a little better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because the cloud practitioner, unless you're established in AWS and you want to kind of touch on some very basic of the basic understanding of what they're doing over there, then the cloud practitioner may add some benefits. But I did it years ago, and unfortunately, I was never able to leverage any value out of it. So go for the professional if you're going to go for a cloud service provider. And I just found out that I think AWS is commanding 33% of the market share. Microsoft Azure, 22% market share, and Google Cloud Platform initially was 10%, but they're only been able to raise it up to 11% of the market share. So think about and be real strategic about which cloud service provider certification you want to look for. Back to Kelsey. Working towards becoming a solutions architect or enterprise architect is ideally what I want to work in or work for. However, I'm not sure if that is an option from graduation. Why not?
So Kelsey, if you get the right education, it will be nothing for you. So Daniel Boso, and I'm mentioning his name, first job other than working at Nordstrom selling shoes was at JP Morgan Chase. And he didn't graduate high school. And they hired him after our training as a solution architect. Now, Jennifer Ema was a mental health tech. Her first job was a solution architect. And while we're at it, Wallace Agana, who they also hired, first job as a solution architect. Now, I could tell you Balwinder, whose first job was a solution architect at Microsoft, and she was a stay-at-home mom. I could tell you Ivan Tamba, who I just spoke to, graduated college, first job, other than working as a waiter, was working at AWS as a solution architect. While we're at it, Jordan Kitko, who's going to speak at my next conference, was a college student, and we trained him while he was college. First thing fresh out of college, solution architect job. Same thing with Coyote. I could tell you we've got social workers like Noah Parker getting hired, video editors like Lenny Burnett. The solution architect job is easily your first job. Now, the enterprise architect job, not normally, but the solution architect is nothing. If you don't take our program, Kelsey, you're going to have to do what I did. Now, I spent $300,000 on my education to be an architect. In the certifications, they teach you nothing of design. In fact, they teach you all the proprietary stuff which you can't use. So you could take our course and finance it. If you're not with us, I would recommend getting an MBA to learn the business acumen. I would recommend you get special training in what's called CXO relevancy, which is how to connect to executives, special training in leadership, because they don't really teach that in the MBA, and presentation skills. You get those three things, you'll know 75% of the job. Now, if you're not with us, then you could get the Cisco Certified Design Expert certification. I promise you, it'll cost you $15,000 to do that certification. But by the time you're done that, you'll understand the principles for design. And if you combine that with an MBA and then add on the Certified Solutions Architect Professional, you'll be good to go, because that's CCDE. You can learn the network and the data center, and you'd be in great, great, great shape. And that's what I did. I went and got 2 master's degrees, took $100,000 of leadership classes and about $80,000 to $100,000 of tech programs. And I funded about 35 to 40 of it, and my companies paid the rest. But that's what I did, and that's how I got there. I created this program so that you don't have to spend $300,000 to get these great architects like me. And you don't need to start at the bottom and waste 10 years of your life losing money. You can get the job you want straight out of school. And like Ivan Tamba, I swear by the time he's 32, he's going to be a chief technology officer, chief information officer somewhere.
Yeah, Von's going to be dangerous. He commands so much presence and executive presence, and the ability to communicate is wonderful. And I'm glad we had a chance to actually see him in person last weekend. Back to Kelsey. Do you offer any scholarship programs for your provided courses and/or internships with Go Cloud Careers?
Kelsey, everybody that goes through our program does an internship as part of our program. We're not in a position to offer scholarships. Our scholarship is taking a course that's easily worth close to $50,000 and making it $2,500, which is 3 days pay for the average graduate. We run our systems at cost. We don't have the ability to fund other people because I'm not doing what our competition is. We are the only people in the world that offer a true architect program and let the students stay in the program until the day they are hired. Our students' graduation is higher. We give people a year in live classes, unlimited time in our community, unlimited time in our online platforms. We are the only people out there that offer stay in our program until you're hired. And we're the only people out there who are graduates working at AWS, Apple, Cisco, IBM, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, JP Morgan Chase, British Broadcasting Company, Barclays Bank, and every other prestigious organization in the entire world. And we retrain everybody else's graduates that paid $10,000 to $30,000 before they come to us. I wish we had it. I wish we had $1 billion endowment from people, and I wouldn't charge for anything. It would all be free. But you have to understand, we have 2 PhD business school professors. We have multiple enterprise architects teaching in this program. We have multiple network architects. We have big data architects. We have IAM architects. We've got executives coming from big tech companies talking to our students. And that's why our students get hired everywhere and earn so much.
Dr. Kelsey, you mentioned an internship was required within the course. Can you elaborate more on that, please?
Sure. Well, Kelsey, when somebody gets done, and they don't have experience on their resume, they're harder to get hired because people know that people don't know anything in certification. And nobody cares about experience; they care competency. So if everybody that joins Go Cloud Careers becomes an associate cloud architect, which is a trainee position, and every one of them designs architectures, and every one of them does several things. Sometimes students co-author bugs with us. Sometimes students have opportunities to teach with some of our volunteer efforts that are out there to help certain people throughout the world. By doing so, by the time people are done, they've got a real list of things that they actually did under a real company. So when somebody else is putting a cloud project on their resume and you got hiring managers like me that laugh and throw it away, our students actually have a job and real life work experience. And when employers come and they say, did this person study with you? What did they do? We can see what our students' work is actually like. And we can give references as well. So every student gets an internship as part of the program.
From Valerie, hi everyone. Go ahead and take advantage of the 30% discount. I took advantage of it. The Go Cloud Career Program is indeed the only program that will train you at that price. Valerie, it was good meeting you. We had a lot of fun over the weekend, and we had a chance to really collaborate and work at our 2023 summit last week in Orlando, Florida. And I got to tell you, it was such a synergistic explosion of wonderful, positive people. We had Dr. Jamie Long. We had Drs. Cooper Johnson. We even had Todd McLaughlin. He's an executive yoga coach, was there. Everyone came together, and we just had a blast. So I just had to say that I'm still in that honeymoon phase of how wonderful it was to come together with CEO and leadership, Michael Gibbs next to me, as well as Chris Johnson, logistics extraordinaire to do these wonderful things. So thanks again, Valerie. It was a pleasure meeting you and everyone else there.
Thank you. Oh, and I wore that Cameroonian football jersey to my strength and conditioning coach this morning when they did some PT on me. And they were like, "What's this? Where's this?" And I was describing to them. They were all kinds of on fire because they have a lot of professional soccer / football people as clients over there.
And I'm also looking forward to laying out that pancakes from Valerie's in Canada, so he gave me a wonderful gift of pure Canadian syrup, maple syrup. So I'm looking forward to laying that over a nice stack of pancakes. I got to hide it from my family because they'll kill it before I can find it.
Exactly.
From Gregory again, as a newbie who's currently working full time, how will you guys recommend for me to complete the program in a timely fashion?
One step at a time. Lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, all the way through. And how does anybody do something? You pick at it, you fight it, you fight, and you keep going. I remember I did my MBA the second time because I actually did 2 MBA programs because I loved it too much. And in the second MBA program, I was working 75 hours a week while I did the MBA. So I get it. But the point is just stick at it. Just keep busy and you'll be good to go. Oh, Prince mentioned something so dangerous and I so want to help him. So let's do this. If you've got questions, please ask them so we can help you. And then Prince, I want to get you there.
Prince, he's saying, I want to try this to learn. I want to look for companies who have adopted the cloud, for example, Netflix, find documentation of their systems, and then find out why they decided to use this or that service.
Prince, that's honestly the worst thing you can do. Because here's the reason. You will never know the business reason. Architecture is driven by business, not tech. When Netflix puts out engineering documents, and that's what they're really talking about, they are showing you what's been done, but you don't know why. Netflix will not talk about their competitive scenario. They will not talk about what their competitors are like, what they're trying to achieve to sell. So you will learn how to redo what someone else did, which is called reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is you buy a TV, you open the thing up and you look at the chips and you lay it out on the board and you produce a copy of the TV. The problem is you don't know why that TV was made, why those chips acted a certain way. There's a difference between designing for innovation and designing for reverse engineering. All that will teach you is how somebody else solved the problem, but you won't actually know what the problem is. The only way you can learn this is to go find those executives at these companies, figure out what their business is, and figure out how do you solve those business pain points. There's just as many companies going off the cloud as went on the cloud. Why? Now, cloud computing is awesome. Why are people leaving the cloud? Because everybody sold them on things like microservices and everybody sold them on serverless and they sold them on the cloud being cheaper. Cloud's not cheaper. Cloud's more expensive. Now, the cloud's still worth it. But people went because they thought it was cheaper because they were told it was until they found out, oops, well, it's a lot more expensive. And why is cloud computing more expensive? I'm going to tell you right now. So we're gonna blow away all the myths in the AWS Cloud Practitioner right now. Cloud computing is more expensive for the following reasons. Cloud computing is a landlord-tenant business, meaning somebody else buys it, maintains it, and operates it, and has to charge you more than it costs them to do so and still turn a profit. So if you build your own network in a data center, you build it and you run it, right? Amazon builds a network in a data center, and now they got to do the following. They got to pay sales reps and architects to design the stuff for you, which they can't bill for. They got to pay a marketing department. They pay a ton in ads, and they got to go spend all this money before you can even think about buying it. So now they buy the stuff, they promote the stuff, and they sell it to you. So they probably have to double or triple that cost in order to break even there, just to keep that in the back of your mind, which means you have to pay to 2 to 3 times more. Now, if you take a course like an AWS Cloud Practitioner, they're going to say, we get an economy of scale, we buy it cheaper than you because we buy a lot. Sounds real and exciting, right? Well, here's why this doesn't work. It is true that when you're a bigger company, you can buy the product for less than a smaller company. That is true. But the cloud providers reach hyperscale. And what do we mean by hyperscale? It means they are so big that now to manage the complexity of the cloud provider might cost 3 to 5 times more than it would if you built it yourself in the first place. Because now you've got a lot of governance. Now you've got all these systems that are out there, and they're so complex, there's so many things to go wrong. You need a lot more redundancy just to equal the same level of service. Now you scaled it out, and the next thing you need 1,000 people to do what 20 people could do in a smaller company. But it's not 1,000 people, it's hundreds of thousands of people, and it grows and it grows and it grows. So everybody went to the cloud because it could be cheaper, and now they're leaving the cloud because it's not. The cloud is the most agile thing in the entire world. And in the world of business, if there's a new technology and I can leverage that new technology better, faster, and cheaper than you can't compete with me. So that's what we're talking about cloud computing. It is a strong competitive advantage by the velocity or the speed that enables businesses to adopt new business processes. You will find none of that in these things. So Prince, either train with us, go get an MBA, but I need you to understand the inner workings of business. How does the business work? What problems does the business have? How does the business make money? How does the business do its customer service? How does the business build its brand? And only when you know that, and you know the shortcomings and weaknesses in there, only then can you do architecture work. Like a doctor, they have to learn the body. They have to learn all the body at healthy, the body at sick, all the disease states and the medications they can use before they can do the job. It's the same job. And Prince, I used to practice internal medicine before I became an architect, which is why it became so easy for me, because I didn't have an engineering background and I didn't think like one. And so I didn't have to unlearn it, because every career we have is different. If you do it this way, you're going to learn engineering. You won't know the business, and then you're going to have to restart learning from scratch. So Prince, find somebody, go find an MBA program, learn the business, or take our training, but at least go out there and learn how to design.
From hiring at Go Cloud Careers, is there a possibility to provide an 8 to 10 month installment plans? Being a student is a little difficult to pay $400 to $500 per installment.
There's no way that we can modify our programs. They're the cheapest they can be with the best financial terms we could possibly offer. But I do believe Alonzo offered a 30% coupon that you could use today. And if you buy our course with a 30% coupon and leverage the 6-month payment plan, you're only dealing with about $300 a month, give or take something, if I do the math in my head.
About $332 or so, yeah.
I'd recommend that.
Yeah.
We also have a non-live version, which would drop the cost even half of that. I don't recommend the non-live if you can come to class, but unfortunately, that's the best way we can do it. Now, Haran, I learned something a long time ago. I learned that the better my career is, the more money I can earn, and then money becomes almost irrelevant to you. I know this because when I was in college, I made a mistake. I worked 80 some hours a week as a firefighter paramedic, earning very little money. And in the end, I still went to school full time. By the time I got done college, I had 2 full-time jobs. I was completely exhausted. And then I got my first job and I got my first paycheck. And it was like I could have paid all that back overnight. So unfortunately, that's just the best we can do. I wish we had the means to be cheaper, but I can't run the kind of school we have. I can't hire the kind of talent we have, and I can't have the best in the bunch getting my students the kind of results we have at anything less. I wish we could, because I'd do it free. I don't care. We can. I need a really good staff, because we run a school that I'm very proud of and our students are proud of, and that's why our students work everywhere.
And I know it's difficult, especially given these times, but it's these moments where consider a return on investment on what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be able to leverage the training that we have and convert it into a long-term investment. Usually cloud architects are making between $700 and $800 a day. So when you think about the weekly salary breakdown of what you could stand to earn as a cloud architect, this would be paid off within a week's worth of salary for a cloud architect. So think about what it is, short-term pain, long-term gain on how you can leverage this opportunity, especially with the 30% off with training with us at Go Cloud Careers.
Yeah, that discount won't be a long. I would take advantage of it.
From Kelsey, how do I go about finding mentors?
Great question, Kelsey. Now, I paid mentors because I wanted the best of the best, and I knew that a good mentor could raise my salary $100,000 in 12 months, and I was willing to pay for it. So when you look for a mentor, I need you to look for this, Kelsey. I need you to look for someone that has either principal, director, or VP in their title. Why? Here's what an associate architect is: someone that got hired as a trainee, and they've got about a year to graduate the trainee position. Otherwise, they're fired and they go start like a Twitter channel or something like that. It's a trainee position. The associate doesn't know what they know, and they don't know what they don't know yet because they're still in training. The first thing you find is what do you call it? The next thing you find is the regular architect. The regular architect doesn't even know how they got there. They don't know what they know. They don't know. You can't ask them. The senior architect, that's where I started when I had zero experience. The senior architect is starting to learn, but they haven't really made it yet. If they did, they'd be a principal or distinguished architect, so they're still in the learning phase, so they don't generally know. Now, poof, now you get into the principal architect. When you find your principal architect, they've been there, they've made it, they're already director level. The world considers your principal or distinguished architects the best there is. They're the only people that really have the knowledge and help you. I've been a principal architect for over 25 years. So go find one of them. Now, a principal architect is a $500,000 a year position for someone that's good, and they've got good sales skills. So when you want someone like that, understand you're going to have to pay them at least $250 an hour if you really want someone to be a mentor. And that's what I did. You can get mentors that are free, I promise you, but they'll give you wrong information and they'll set you back, years of wasted mistakes. I had that before I started paying for mentors. I wanted a tech job. I was practicing medicine. I wanted to be a network engineer. I went and asked the schools, and they told me I needed a $5,000 Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer Bootcamp. I did it. Guess what? No one cared. I became a CCNA, and I knew that associate certifications didn't matter, but I did it anyway. And then I took a 10-day, $11,000 CCNP Bootcamp, and guess what? Nobody cared. Then I spent close to another $10,000 becoming a Cisco Certified Design Professional, and guess what? Nobody cared. Then I started asking tech recruiters what I need, and they're like, Mike, you need this skill, this skill, this skill. Nobody cares about these certifications. They care about this, this, and this. Kelsey, I went on that. I went on my first interview, and I was hired as a senior role. Kelsey, and the point is I know you can do that. So that's how you find them. Make sure that they have a principal, distinguished, director, or VP title because they've made it. And one of those people that loves to teach and loves to mentor, they will be good. Do either of us offer mentoring service? Yes, we offer two kinds of mentoring. Our Cloud Architect Career Development Program is a mentorship program. And for less than 3 days pay for the average graduate, 2 days pay with that 30% discount code that you put there, you'll have the mentoring through your program, and you'll have a great career and a great job. Now, we also do offer mentoring, both Alonzo and I. The rate is $1,200 an hour, and we were booked out for a little over 21 weeks because that's how the demand is for our services. I prefer to charge $2,500 for a course, or about $1,700 on discount, than charge people $1,200 an hour and have them wait 21 weeks to even speak to me because my schedule's that big. But that's how hard it's going to be to find a really good mentor, and that's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And that's why I have the world's greatest architects working for us and business executives for those areas.
From Indy Yasser again, I missed participating in yesterday's design challenge session. Could you upload the session to go through?
You missed it. If we do one in another 3 to 6 months, feel free to attend us. Although the good news is it's exactly what we do in class 2 times a week. Other than last night's session, we had to make it a little easier for the community because they weren't all our students, and our students can do anything. But yeah, it's very similar. You can attend one the next time.
From Haran, will cloud architects require TS/CSI security clearance? Being an international students, we cannot obtain the clearance.
You don't need security clearance to be a cloud architect. The only time you would ever need security clearance is if you were going to work on a government project. Now, the government projects will pay you substantially less than if you would work on civilian projects. As a rule, I wouldn't be getting security clearance. I don't have security clearance, and I've been an architect for 25 years. I work on big banks, big internet service providers, helped consult to many cloud providers many years ago on how to design their clouds for offerings, but I don't do anything where I need security.
Yeah. And that's a part of doing some government related cloud architect stuff. But outside of that, in the private sector, you're not going to need that hiring. And there's a lot of people, I believe, that are on H-1Bs or similar visas that are still working as cloud architects. So that's not going to inhibit you from becoming a cloud architect or working in the space with on American soil or with virtually with American organizations.
Yeah, there's a huge shortage. There's not a shortage of engineers, but there's a huge shortage of architects, and it's not a problem getting an architect job by any stretch of the imagination. Not even 1 or 2%. If you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, our team, I'm going to have my team go back to work. We're doing all kinds of cool stuff behind the scenes, and but I want to be here if you need any questions. We're here every week completely free so people can find mentors and ask questions. I'm trying to give the community mentorship as cheap as possible.
From Kelsey, I'll be graduating December of 2024. How soon before graduation should I begin your course to time it with graduation?
So I wouldn't be trying to time our course with graduation. I would be trying to take the class as fast as I can. So it'll take you, with the right training, 6 to 12 months to go from where you're at to hired. And, if you were to start now, many things would happen. Let's say 12 months from now. That'll get you to the point where you're just about ready. Now, and Kelsey, you're going to find you may find yourself in the position. So here was Ivan Tamba. Ivan Tamba was a really good, I talked to this kid because he's kind of like the son I would want, like if I ever had one. And, Ivan Tamba was a college student. He joined AWS in January of 2023, if I remember correctly. Now, here's the funny thing, Kelsey. He got hired by them in September, or what it was like 6 months before. Now, I know what it was. They hired him in December, and he graduated in May. So Kelsey, we've got this nice young man. He's working as a waiter. He's a college student at Georgia Tech, Kelsey. And then Ivan Tamba gets a job offer from AWS. And he says to AWS, I know it's my first job. I know I haven't even graduated college yet. Could you let me college before I start the job in May? And Amazon hired him, gave him a job, and waited 6 months for him to start because they loved him so much after our program. But if I was you, I would start the program now. What if you get lucky and by January and by May of 2024, you can get a job? Well, you could take that job earn $150,000, $200,000 a year right then and there, and let them pay for your college, and you can finish your college courses while you have a full-time job as an architect. Do it in 2 semesters and let them completely pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, increase your potency, Kelsey. So this is some of the things that I realized is, although we may not tout this, but over the span of what we teach that is shorter than a university education, both bachelor level and graduate level, that these graduates of ours are commanding better salaries than those who are walking out the door with a diploma. This is not to discourage you or otherwise give some sort of hint that we are disparaging anyone who wants to get a degree, but still, this combination of study could also lift you up to greater heights of taking our program along with your studies as well. We don't want you to overburden yourself, but think about the possibilities of what that could do for your career and your trajectory as well. From Nikilia, the course is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikilia.
From Hera, how long does the sale last? I've been waiting for a sale. Today's it. This is what we decided to do at the last minute. We don't do these often, and if it happens, I strongly recommend everyone take advantage of it. I don't know when the next one is. It all depends on mitigating circumstances that we don't plan for or otherwise expect. So if you have a chance to take on this 30% today, do so.
Yeah, it's not really something we were planning. We offered it to the people on the Cloud Architect Challenge last night, and somebody asked about it today, so we figured we'd let it go until tomorrow. So yeah, take advantage of it. Okay, well, any last questions from you? If so, please ask them. Otherwise, please make sure you download the free guide on how to become a cloud architect. I want to make sure you understand it. It will list every skill that you need. Every skill, every last one of them. Join me tomorrow on the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. Guess what? We'll present for about 30 minutes and we'll spend 90 minutes live on Zoom with you. What does this mean? It means we can assess you. You can ask us questions. We can have a dialogue back and forth. Think you're ready? I can ask you 2 or 3 interview questions and see if you know. If you'd impress me, I'll tell you go interview. If not, I'll tell you need training. But you want that. You want us to look at you, hear how you present, hear how you sell, hear how you carry yourself for the interview. We can guide you on that as well. So keep that in the back of your mind. Personally, love the opportunity to go out there and talk to people and help you, because I remember when I started, I got bad guidance from all the other people that never made it. And then I finally got a job, and it was a good one. And the first thing that I did is I called the VP of Network Architecture and said, I said, can we meet? And I said, could you tell me what you want in the perfect architect? He told me. A couple months later, I was a lead architect on Wall Street, and I've been an architect ever since. Because I knew what to learn, and while everybody else was building their projects and learning the code, I was learning the design. While everybody else was focusing on the tech, being the center of the universe, I was focused on what the VP told me, on how to solve business problems with technology. My career took off like a rocket ship, and you can do the same thing for you. So also download the completely free guide, Why Tech Skills Are Not Enough. And someone from my team, since we're not going to have that sale for very long, pop that sale in the chat box with a link for how everybody can get there. Look forward to meeting you all, to anybody that comes tomorrow in the webinar. It'll be fun to see you. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.